Introduction. Let's change our thinking about physician leadership. All physicians are leaders. That may not sound like a profound statement, but it really is. And it has vast implications for our healthcare industry. All physicians lead, not just those with designated leadership titles, such as department chief, chief medical officer, or CEO. Leadership is foundational to the role of doctor. Fortunately, leadership is a learned skill. Improving physicians' leadership skills results in better healthcare. When everyone involved in medicine, particularly physicians themselves, comes to embrace this idea, the entire healthcare system will reap the benefits. Nurses, technicians, administrators, finance departments, HR professionals, and doctors themselves. But the chief beneficiary will be patients. Yes, patients. Better patient outcomes are always our goal, and improved physician leadership leads to better teamwork, higher morale, and improved decision-making at every level of the healthcare delivery system. This leads to higher quality medical treatment, which leads in turn to better health outcomes for patients. This simple but powerful idea is the premise of this book. Better physician leadership leads to better patient health. But this idea has not yet been institutionally embraced by the medical community. I hope this book plays some small part in changing that. All Physicians Lead is more than a book title. It is the foundational concept to drive important changes in medical education and training. A bit of background. How did I come upon this notion that all physicians are leaders and should consciously and deliberately hone their leadership skills? And where do I get the credentials to talk about physician leadership? It started at an institution that focuses on leadership development, the United States Military Academy at West Point. I was fortunate enough as a young man to be accepted to West Point. One of the first things that strikes you upon entering this historic institute is how seriously the U.S. military takes the concept of leadership and leadership training. When you enroll at West Point, regardless of your background and experience, you start at square one in your leadership development. Every West Point cadet receives a comprehensive 4-year program of increasing knowledge, training, and experience in how to lead. By the time you graduate, you've been given 4 years of continuous leadership education and training, each year built on the foundations of the year before. And it doesn't stop there. The expectation is that you will continue to grow in your leadership education and development throughout your military career. Specifically, you'll spend about 1/3 of your career in command, 1/3 in staff jobs, and 1/3 in leadership schools. 1/3. That's how strong an investment the military makes in training its leaders. For someone with a 20-year career, that amounts to more than 6 total years invested in learning the next level of leadership. I chose the infantry branch upon graduation, and I did a tour as a small unit leader in the 82nd Airborne Division. That's when I was able to experience firsthand the leadership structure embedded in every level of military life. Leadership training is an ongoing daily thing for an officer. Your superior officers constantly find teachable moments to reinforce your strengths as a leader, as well as to point out the things you could be doing better. Your skills are reviewed, both formally and informally, on a continual basis. The Army's definition of leadership is the process of influencing people by providing purpose, direction, and motivation, while operating to accomplish the mission and improve the organization. They train you to that definition. I went straight from active duty in the 82nd Airborne Division to physician training when I was accepted into the Uniformed Services University School of Medicine. The USU School of Medicine is an excellent 4-year medical school, accredited like other medical schools. The only distinction is that every student is a commissioned officer in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Public Health Service, or Coast Guard. When students graduate and finish their residency, each has a 7-year obligation to serve in their respective service. America's Medical School, as the USU School of Medicine is sometimes called, gave me a terrific medical education, but I noticed one thing right away that surprised me. It was the absence of the structured leadership training I'd become so accustomed to. This seemed a bit odd to me, but I explained it away as, well, I guess they're not really training leaders here, they're training physicians. This has changed dramatically at USU for the better. See Chapter 9, page 178. And then I went out into the real world as a doctor. I completed a neurosurgery residency and a pediatric neurosurgery fellowship, served as an attending neurosurgeon at Walter Reed and Bethesda Naval Hospital, and was deployed to combat as a neurosurgeon. I saw what physicians do every day. I saw the way we mobilize treatment teams, calm frightened patients, and direct the allocation of resources. I saw the way others look to us to make and execute critical decisions. An insight dawned. Physicians lead all the time. It's in the very nature of what we do. We are constantly influencing people by providing purpose, direction, and motivation while operating to accomplish the mission, i.e., saving lives. Almost everything a physician does is a leadership event of some kind, whether in the military or in civilian life. Physicians are leaders, period. But we aren't routinely trained as such. To worsen matters, we aren't even explicitly told we are leaders unless and until we are promoted to an official leadership position. I believe this lack of leadership awareness limits us and, as we will see, blocks much of the reflection and growth that would improve our healthcare system and health outcomes for our patients. Fortunately for me, owing to the leadership training I had already received, I was given the privilege of serving in increasing levels of official leadership within the Army Medical Corps, Chief of Neurosurgery at Walter Reed, Chairman of the Department of Surgery at Walter Reed, Deputy Commander, Senior Vice President of the National Naval Medical Center, and Commander, CEO of the healthcare system centered at Fort Meade, Maryland, which operated 14 healthcare facilities in 4 states and had several thousand employees. As I continued to grow in traditional leadership roles, developing my own leadership skills, I also continued to practice medicine, and I became more and more convinced of the obvious, to me, truth, that all physicians are leaders, though we rarely train them as such. Consequently, we end up with hit-or-miss results. Some physicians who carefully develop their leadership skills, others who don't. Some who are well-trained in leadership, some who are partially trained, some who are hardly trained at all. A random assortment of skill levels, a random assortment of functionality. We could do better than that, I believed. Our patients deserve it. Many studies show that unwarranted variation in care results in poorer health outcomes, and this book will connect the dots between physician leadership and patient outcomes. Doing something about it. I decided to try and do something about the issue. When I attained colonel rank, I went to see a man I had come to know, Major General Richard Tom Thomas, the 2-star general in charge of the Army Medical Corps. He oversaw all 4,200 physicians in the Army. I laid out my agenda to him in San Antonio, Texas, over cigars and maybe a margarita. I believe all physicians are leaders and should be educated and trained that way. I've been working on this idea for years, and I'd like to put together a program for physician leadership in the Army. He gave the project his stamp of approval. Over the course of the next year and a half, 42 leader contributors and 24 very experienced senior advisors came together to hash out ideas and ultimately create All Physicians Lead, a 2013 document that became the Army's core template for physician leadership development and training. The paper made the case that a cultural change was needed, one in which the Army should begin to view and train physicians as the leaders they are. It then proposed several LOEs, lines of effort, creating a comprehensive, lifelong learning environment in which physician leadership is developed throughout a military doctor's career. This book. My hope is that this book will, in some modest way, spur the same kind of change within the non-military medical community. I hope to convince you that physicians are leaders, and as such should be trained in leadership as a core competency from the start of medical school. This training should continue throughout their residencies and their entire careers. When physicians become better leaders, the healthcare system works better for everyone, and most notably, for patients. For whom is this book written? Primarily, it is for doctors themselves. If you are a physician, my goal is to help you start viewing yourself as a leader. When you make that mental shift, something profound happens. You begin to see the connection between your leadership skills and the outcomes you are seeking: high-performance teamwork, lower stress work environments, and better patient care. You begin to realize that you are a crucial vehicle of transformation at every position you hold, at every level of your career. Sections 1 and 2 of the book, therefore, are aimed primarily at physicians themselves. Each chapter starts with a short character vignette based on real-life events, and then explores an important aspect of leadership development for physicians. This book is also for anyone involved in the education, training, or employment of physicians, medical school deans, residency and fellowship program directors, hospital administrators, healthcare executives. Section 3 explores the LOEs, lines of effort, that can be undertaken to develop physician leadership as a core competency from day one of a physician's career. It then looks at specific ways leadership skills can be developed in medical schools, in residencies, in hospitals and healthcare systems, and by physicians' organizations. These lessons, by the way, apply to any profession where practitioners spend years or even decades perfecting their craft and are then promoted to positions of authority within the organization. I write about physicians because that's the world I know from personal experience, but the principles apply equally well to engineers, attorneys, IT professionals, and many others. This book is for you as well. Back to healthcare. Keep in mind we are talking about changing a culture here. So this book is for anyone involved in or interested in healthcare, not just doctors and administrators. As I hope to show you, developing physicians' leadership qualities can have positive ripple effects across the entire healthcare industry. And the most important effect is improved outcomes for our patients. Imagine, if you will, a healthcare world in which all physicians show up on the ward, in the ER, or in the lab, skilled in the leadership essentials of sincere caring, excellent communication, consistency of message and actions, professionalism, conflict resolution, and mobilizing high-performing teams. With your permission, allow me to lead you onward.